When I think of games that embody nostalgia for me, I tend to think of some weird options, weird for other people, because when you say like retro, you think of like games that followed into the 2000s sort of era. But the definition of what's retro is eventually going to change. Like, at the time of making this, the original Xbox is 22 years old. It came out in 2001. The PS2 came out in 2000. The GameCube in 2002. Wii in 2006. By most definitions and like majority of guidelines that people have kind of posted online, these are considered retro now. The Xbox 360 and the PS3, despite being released in 2005 and 2006 respectively, they aren't called retro by many, and it's mostly because despite being 2 generations of consoles behind now, they're still actively acknowledged by their manufacturers. Even if you won't have new games released upon them, you can still play online and you can still purchase goods from their digital stores. Well, for the PS3, you can still. As I was writing this script, it was announced that the 360 shop is going to be ending its service for the console. That's aimed to be for July 24th in 2024, so make sure you download any games you need for the sake of archiving, otherwise they're going to be lost forever. Yay! I love digital formats with very little means of actual archival purposes. And mind you, this definition of retro is going by that idea that the manufacturers of the console no longer pay real attention to them. There's no repair services from official sources for them. They have no online compatibility anymore from like official servers. They are abandoned. So when it comes to nostalgia, like I said, I have some odd choices compared to what other people might say right away. My gaming started around maybe like 2005 when I was 8 with a Game Boy Color, but the GameCube is really what screams memories for me. I know a lot of my fond gaming memories come from slamming my way through Smash Bros. Melee, and even the case of accidentally having my save data deleted and working my way back up to filling out the roster again. That was such a pain in the ass. Or struggling through Super Mario Sunshine because I didn't totally understand what it was asking of me at the time. But one of my absolute favorites I don't really see talked about all too often would have been Custom Robo. We only ever got the last 2 games in the franchise here in North America, which is a little funny. Because after its DS installment, their developing company Noise moved on to other series, which were Japan or Europe exclusive. It was a game where I gradually unlocked stronger parts for my itty-bitty robots, and I could make it the way I like it. It was like Armored Core 6 for my little baby brain. I never actually finished the game properly, but I have such fond memories of it that its name has kept with me over the years. It's truly a nostalgic game for me, and one that I can't remember any direct flaws with. It was a serious interest of mine, and my dad even knew as much when he got me the DS sequel as a present. Like, I mean, what's not to love about fighting with little 30cm tall toys? Especially one that's outfitted with such a highly dangerous technology that it could kill you. And despite how fond my memories are of the game, I don't think I want to play it again. And there's some games where I can't play it the way I remember it anymore. Like Minecraft. It's realistically over a decade old, and while I haven't played it consistently over that 10-year lifespan, it's a game I still think of fondly when I look back on my time with it. I have no idea what my actual playtime of Minecraft is, but I used to play a lot by myself. I never really played on any public servers unless it was with friends, and even then it was just vanilla. Those friends were already at the end of the game too whenever they invited me though. At that time it had just been defeating the dragon and getting all those little materials to make your final builds and everything, but while they would make offers to give me a bunch of those materials they've been collecting, it just felt a lot more fulfilling to get what I needed myself for any of the builds that came to mind. Even if they've done entire excavation projects and had double chests upon double chests full of raw materials, I found it comforting, honestly. My builds weren't the best, and they're still not as detailed as some of my buddies I play with now, but I liked that process of hunting down what I wanted and using what I had on hand to make something cool. I absolutely loved finding just massive mountains to make homes on top of, cave mouths to make crafting areas out of, stretches of ocean just to see what I'd find on the other side. I never really planned anything ahead of time. I just kind of rolled with whatever punches came my way, so much of my gameplay was done by impulse, honestly. And even recently on a server I'm on, I just decided I wanted to make a base in the swamp and expanded it into a house, a shed, a massive garden, an underground storage area connecting the buildings. And that's what makes up the fun of it for me. I can make as many plans as I like, but part of me is always going to deviate to try another idea. I'll always have that ooh shiny moment and split away to do my own thing. The fact is, Minecraft isn't the same as what it used to be, and some of the recent updates have kind of solidified that. The combat update. I know, people hate it. They love it when it comes to PvP, 1 to 2, it's hard to say, but I never really cared for that sort of server. I'm a player versus environment kind of girl. I like working together with people. I like being able to have a mutual goal that isn't mindless murder. But the real update that really changed the game for me was the Caves and Cliffs update. This was one that added Deep Slate and like 200 more levels of blocks that you could utilize, both above and below. The one that changed how ores generate, the one that basically ruined my strip mining technique. As much as I love the vastness of everything, realistically for my style of play, it made it a lot harder to get what I like. If I wanted a new type of wood, it would be an entire journey just to get to like a taiga biome. And with that recent server I'm on, we don't even have to go hunting for ores, really. We've got iron farms and piglin farms and a villager trading hall and cow farms and wool farms and mob spawn traps and mob spawn farms and tree farms and amethyst farm and... Okay, let me take a second. The point being, recently it's become easier to automate more of our exploration. Once we get what we need, we don't really need to leave our bases. We don't snap our fingers in dismay and head to the mines when we're out of iron or gold. We just head to a farm and AFK for a while. Partially because I think exploration is a bit of a pain now. That sense of wonder when you're looking around the map isn't entirely gone, but it's not the same. Expeditions are less about seeing what you can find and more of us intentionally looking for something. Even when I'm playing single player, the mystery of what I'll find is replaced with intent in what I'm aiming to do. Be it because of the way I've learned to play, how I've learned to automate systems, how the world generation has changed. I go into Minecraft not with curiosity, but I go in with goals now. Get wood, make tools, get resources, make a house, make storage, make a farm, find a cave, get more resources, go to the Nether, get more resources, get to the end, get more resources, and that's not immediately a bad thing. It's just what the gameplay loop is now. I feel like it's also become a little cluttered from start to the end, with all these updates adding things to do in between. So, with so much to do and with so much to explore, you get lost in what would be considered your mid-game. But not only that, there's just some items that feel so separated from the others that they're like a side quest and outside of what your natural progression would be. And when I'm talking about natural progression, I mean the fact that, like, when it comes to some of these items, it's not a matter of trying to find them to make your journey towards the end and your end game easier. it's oftentimes something that's almost completely separated from what that natural sense of progression would be. I mean, example, the Heart of the Sea item. Who's going to intentionally go searching for buried treasures to find it, then farm up nautilus shells from drowned zombies or fishing to make a conduit? The conduit isn't a required item to reach the end or anything like that. It's more of a quality of life item when it comes to protection underwater, protection within the rain, but it's one of those items where it's not really something you would naturally obtain unless it's like over a grand amount of time, because when it comes to the buried treasure, so much of the time you have to put your projects aside to grab a good shovel and make your journey out towards wherever it could spawn and dig for maybe half an hour to try and find a chest. It's something you have to go out of your way for. And honestly, I've never naturally made one of these things. I had to go to the wiki to see how, like, exactly how it worked and what it needed. And I didn't even know that it needed to be in like a 3x3x3 cube of water, which then had to also be encased with a 5x5 frame with specific blocks that spawn in the underwater ruins or monuments just to start its effect. I didn't know any of that. But also, for something so innately, seemingly complicated, there's no real means of in-game definitions that would lead you to this this full setup for it. I mean, if you think about it, when you could discover you could make a enchanting table, how did you know that you needed bookcases surrounding it to increase its power, to give you better enchantments and stronger ones overall? How did you know how to make a nether portal? How did you know that you could make a snow golem or an iron golem yourself? See, at the least, when you get copper, you can learn how a brush is made now, and for the in-game achievements, you can find out you can brush a suspicious block with it. But where do you find those blocks? How do you tell them apart from normal blocks? It's not so much asking to be handheld in these cases of discovery, but for those telling me to embrace trial and error, I can't be the only one who barely notices the differences within the blocks being a little bit grainier, and I bet if you have a texture pack, that could be even less noticeable depending on the creator. So getting back on track, if we address the start to the end again, I really do think that there is so much to do in between that by the point you're at the end and you have your elytra, you've beaten the Wither, going back to do those little side quests doesn't feel as grand. And these side quests aren't something that you naturally find, it's generally something you have to search for and dedicate time to. And much of the time, with these mid-game individual side quests, be it for progress towards the end or something that's just on its own individual, there's not really many in-game methods of learning these mechanics. Being people who have either played this for so long that this information is ingrained in our memory, or having access to people who have done Let's Plays with their friends and have discovered these for us, if you were going in blind, how would you know these things? If you didn't use tutorials or other people's playthroughs, what in-game information gave you a hint as to put bookshelves around the enchanting table, as to how to make a portal, how to utilize honey and honeycombs and whatever have you? We don't have that sense of discovery anymore. We have all these different resources that we can just look it up and we can go, oh yeah, that's it. Like, when it comes to Stardew Valley, I have to play that thing with the wiki open or else I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Even Terraria, with so many of the items at your disposal, you kind of have to have the wiki to know what is used in what. And with Minecraft, with these new features or ones that you may have never come across, there's no means of learning about it in the game itself. You have to search a video or you have to look it up on the wiki. And while some people may not like the recipe system, in that case, close it, you don't need to use it, it helps to give this sense of progression again. You get a new item, you can learn you can make something out of it, you can use trial and error to figure out how those function and how they're used. If you killed an enderman and got a pearl, you might accidentally throw it and discover what it does. When you later kill a blaze against a rod, you can discover it turns into powder. Then you discover the powder can be combined with your ender pearl, and at that point, you know you can throw it and something will happen. It's a natural sense of progression towards your next goal. And I can already hear people going, Alice, you're critiquing the most popular game of all time like it's any other game. And I know I am. I'm being a stickler for these mechanics that I've been using for 7, 10, 5, I don't know how many years. And Minecraft is one of those weird special cases where it's both in and outside of normal criticisms. It's such a special game that part of it just has, like I said, it's been ingrained in my memory, and I didn't even consider the fact that people may not have known how to make nether portals when it first came out. It's a game that's built upon exploration and intuition and innovation and creativity. It's a game that truly takes your imagination and asks you to stretch it the best you can. But now there's so much added to it, it can be treated like any other sandbox game you can get on the gaming market. It built the sandbox gameplay to what we know it as today, and it feels like it's now fallen into the same content trap that they have. It's not just a sandbox survival game now, it's part RPG in a sense. You aren't thrown into a world and left to your own devices anymore. You have in-game achievements for your advancements that try to push you towards your next step of progression. You always had the general progression of wood to stone and so on and so forth, and while it's not a bad thing that there's so much from start to finish, despite finish being reachable pretty easily, it's kind of tainted any possibility of going back to how I remember it. So I know I mentioned Custom Robo earlier and how I don't really want to go back and play it. I want to keep that memory of it, and I don't want it to be ruined by me being critical and questioning things about it. I can't go back to that Minecraft I remember, not truly. If I roll back the version with the launcher or an old update, I'm gonna be so used to the changes that have been made that it won't feel the same. It won't feel like modern Minecraft, but it won't feel like my memories. It'll be like this odd limbo of experiences where it's uncanny but familiar, but you can do it. People play on older servers just because they like the older versions of Minecraft more. I just know that if I roll back the version, I'm not gonna have the same fun I remember. I've done it before, and at this point, there's only really one way I'd enjoy older versions over the newer ones, and honestly, it might be the same reason others have. That one way I'd enjoy older versions is modding. The modding community is vast, it's immersive, it's beautiful a lot of the time, and the ability of modding brings a world of possibility, and some of these mods can't be used on recent builds because of coding changes or broken builds. Yet, honestly, the biggest dampening on any nostalgic game experience has got to be the modding scene. We get so used to these big complex packs, these quality of life changes, these additions to endgame content that we've been lacking and hoping for, and we kind of ignore the fact that the base game is lacking in those areas that we care about, and we just accept that it's better when you make adjustments. I mean, yeah, I'd never play Fallout New Vegas unmodded, even if I'm just using patches to increase resource accolation or to make it run smoother, but that just makes it so that I can't return to the base game and see it the same. Once I play these games modded, it really does feel like my perception of the base game has absolutely changed. So much of the time, you don't want to go back to any sense of a vanilla build. Like, even Minecraft, I have at least Optifine running for any release that I can manage. Like, I always have something. The biggest contender for this, I feel like, is Skyrim. Elder Scrolls, yay, I didn't enjoy it. People loved the base game, but when I tell somebody I didn't really enjoy it, I didn't feel like it was my style of a game, I'm told to mod the shit out of it. Not to try a different playstyle, not to give it some more time so I can grow stronger and unlock the fun stuff, but to mod it. To take that base game that I didn't like and just add so much to it that's fundamentally a different game by the time I'm done. I could not install those mods, but then I'm still not going to enjoy my experience. I just haven't ever gotten recommendations of what to do for the main game with what it naturally allows. It's always been recommended to change it, to change how it works entirely. I'm keeping that in. Stuttering is fun. Taking a game and modding it could change my opinion of my experience, sure, but it's not going to change my mind about the base game for the better. If I'm more interested in the modded and adjusted experience, why would I go back to the base game at all? Minecraft, again, played the Vault Hunters mod pack, and going back to vanilla, it left me kind of feeling like I was missing something. It didn't feel like I had as much to do. At least with the Vault Hunters, I could try a different build, I could do more runs and try different modifiers, work my way up in vault levels and get stronger and discover what mod packs had in store for me, but with vanilla Minecraft, once I've reached that end game, that's it. I could make another automated farm, or build something, try and let my imagination go wild, but when it comes to the sake of progression, that's the end game. Creativity. And even then, there's only so much entertainment you can get for yourself through imagination alone. We want that end game content for any of these games that we enjoy, and communities can help us earn that through modding. And like I said, I can't play Minecraft the same. I can't play Terraria the same. I mean, have you seen the Calamity mod? I can't play the Fallout games the same. I still won't play Skyrim. I can't play Monster Hunter World this. Okay, I could play it the same if they gave us fox ears and a tail for cosmetic items. It's I'm a very particular girl. But this whole idea brings me to a conversation I've had regarding the backrooms. I adore the aesthetic, I adore the theming, I find that idea that you could just at any moment clip into this massive looping hell absolutely terrifying. But the unfamiliar can still become familiar. There's only so much fear you can give a player through a loud hum and yellow walls. So the community turned it into this SCP-like space with different levels and goals and threats. And it's not a bad thing. It lets people express that creativity. This is their endgame. It's just made it so I can't look at the back rooms the same way as you did in the beginning of the idea. Even if it comes to backroom games that are only focused on exploration, they're not unsettling to me now. They're interesting, they're intriguing. I've gotten used to it. It's become something familiar. And even if I might not like it being populated by monsters, it gives me a new goal. Actual survival. And even if these properties can't be seen in the same way by me, it doesn't mean I have to chase what they are in my memory. I don't need to try and recreate that exact image I have for them. And I don't have to test them to see if it still holds up in the way I expect them to. I'm okay with these being just memories. I mean, you don't want to go back and relive everything you can remember, right? Sometimes you just want to be able to live with the bliss of how you recall your favorite media as a kid. Totally Spies has been ruined for me. I'm just going to say that out loud. I don't want to go back to older Minecraft versions to be critical of that build or complain about how it's missing quality of life features, because I want to remember those times with friends and building massive castles and leveling mountains and talking about nonsense and cracking jokes, and I haven't talked to them in years. It's best left as a memory. If I tried to reach out and relive it again, I might just taint its image. I don't really play Minecraft anymore anyways. It just doesn't bring me the sensation I remember it brought me before. It's a better game overall in my absolute opinion, but we can't really truly go back to those older versions. I can't go back to the older games that I've kept these fond memories of. I can't truly play the game in the way I remember it to be, because what I miss isn't entirely the version of the game itself. It's the time associated with it. We've kind of lost that era of our lives, and it's nearly impossible to go back. I'm not a kid anymore. I'm not a teenager anymore. My time can't be spent entirely with friends over voice chats, praising a game all day, and having absolutely no worries other than what I want for dinner or school when Monday comes around. I wouldn't really want to be a teenager again anyways, because that was an absolute escape from the fact that I was disgusted with my body and I didn't know why. The pre-trans experience. Video games were an escape because I found myself surrounded by people who liked my humor and personality and didn't care what I looked like I did. My my dad can't rent a GameCube for a week as a reward for me and grab a game he think I'd like alongside of it. There's no places in my area we can go and rent a console, let alone a game, without it just being a monthly plan to eventually own it, or under an entire setup as a commercial application. I can't go to my grandmother's house and play Super Mario 64 in her basement and excitedly show my uncles all the stars I've collected. I can't get car sick on a ride to our cottage because I played too much Super Mario World on my Game Boy Advance SP and have my mom chastise me for it because she warned me and all. I can't bring my 3DS with me to a mall trip and get a dozen Street Pass notifications anymore. I can't say that I like playing Smash without my choices being criticized for competitive potential. I can't enjoy media without being at least a little bit considerate of its representations, of the themes it's trying to sell, of the merch it's trying to sell, of the audience it wants to garner, because I don't want to be put I don't want to be put into a dangerous space of the internet again. I can't go to massive gatherings under the fear that I'll get sick thanks to the 2020 pandemic and this absolute destruction of myself it helped bring, this new anxiety-riddled, fake it till you make it confidence, panic-driven Alice. I can't go back to Minecraft because I can't go back to that time. I don't want to go back to older games and relive the memories I have of them. I want my innocence back.